Welcome back, everyone. We're here today on a Training Thursday edition of the Cabral Concept, episode 2176. If you want to follow along with the show notes, and also I'll be linking up additional shows that I've done in the past that will add more clarity to this show as well. Because remember, it's not about reading one article, one book, listening to one podcast, and feeling like you have all the answers you need in order to move forward. The goal for me, and at least in my practice, in my belief system, is that you get a good base of knowledge, a solid base of knowledge before you make any big decisions, wild decisions. And then what you do is you begin to build on top of that. You keep your mind open and you begin to build off of it. So again, a 20-minute podcast or a 10-minute article read or one research article or one, journalist from the Wall Street Journal, whatever it might be. Again, I'm not quoting any Wall Street Journal journalist there, but I always hear people say, hey, did you see this in the Wall Street Journal? I said, well, what is it? Send it over to me. I don't read the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, oh yeah, but here's also the other side to that, right? Journalists aren't going to present to you all of it because they're not typically experts in that particular space that they're writing on, right? They're not typically an expert on that thing. They write an excerpt on it that seems interesting and great. There's an article. That's the way that it works. Doesn't mean they didn't do research on it, but they probably didn't go to school. They probably didn't spend, thousands of hours reading books on it, whatever it might be. So just wanted to share that with you, that there's always more to learn. That's basically it. And I always want to say there is no one end all be all. We want to try to keep our minds open and take a lot of different facets from a lot of different natural health-based modalities and allow that to be our guiding light. All right, so here's the thing. I want to go over with you today 3 ways to overcome exhaustion from exercise. This is near and dear to my heart because I've always enjoyed sports. I've always enjoyed exercise. I've always enjoyed kind of competing. It's always been fun for me. I've enjoyed being on team sports and always have done it my entire life. Well, now, since I'm not doing any team sports or competing in anything except maybe sprint triathlons, I may get back into that, I love being able to go to the gym. I love being able to exercise. But you're talking to somebody who did sports all through high school, and then my senior year, that fall season, I ended up what was later diagnosed as Addisons disease, myalgic encephalitis, and POTS. Those 3 things, of course, there was type 2 diabetes, there was beginning of rheumatoid arthritis, all that, but my body was not producing energy anymore. I destroyed my mitochondria. I had massive levels of inflammation. So I felt like I had flu-like symptoms all day long. I didn't feel like it. I actually had flu-like symptoms all day long. I would literally get hot flashes. I would start to just pour sweat in the middle of class. I was not able to produce cortisol, so I had rampant inflammation in my body, and I had exercise intolerance. So when I exercised or played sports, I felt worse. I had literally no energy. I tried to come back in my spring season and do track and field, which I had done for the previous 3 years in spring, and I went from being very good as a good person on the team to being one of the worst. And it was... Talk about a shot to the ego when you're 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. Really, pretty brutal because people knew me as someone that could run, that someone could compete, and someone that could, enjoy themselves and do well. I wasn't going to the Olympics. I'm not gonna say that I was. Far from it, right? But I was able to compete certainly at that high school level, and I very much enjoyed it. And then I had zero mitochondria, not zero, but I'm exaggerating, but my mitochondria were mainly destroyed. I wasn't able to produce enough ATP, so my sprints and my moderate length runs, they were terrible. And so I wasn't able to do track that season because I could not handle being not being one of the worst. That's not it at all. Because I don't want it to seem like that. It wasn't at all. Because there are many things that I do where I'm certainly starting at the bottom and I don't mind it at all. But the problem was I wasn't starting at the bottom. It wasn't like I was a freshman. I went from working my way up, training very hard to be competitive, to then to realizing that I was not going to ever live up to that potential again that season. So that was really, it was a pretty dark place. I've talked about that before. It was terrible to be a senior in high school and have all that taken from you. The brain fog for the academics and the weak body for the sports. But it is what it is. It was part of my journey. It's part of who made me today, made me who I am today. It has hopefully made me a more sympathetic and compassionate individual for people in those same places that I once was, because as hopefully you've known my story, I overcame the myalgic encephalitis. I overcame the Addisons disease. I overcame the POTS, which is the lightheadedness upon standing, the accelerated heart rate just walking up a flight of stairs, the muscle weakness. I overcame all of that. A lot of doctors say you're not supposed to, that's impossible. Well, I'm here today, and there are many tens of thousands of other people like myself that have. And what I want to do is give you one excerpt from that today of how to overcome exhaustion from exercise, right? It's not just exercise, but I want to use exercise as an example. And there's 3 main ways to do it. And I'm going to link up my podcast for you, though, because I want you to have a background on what's myalgic encephalitis or encephalomyelitis. And that's basically inflammation of the entire body, of the muscles. And you feel like you are worn down all the time. You're just totally exhausted all the time. You have flu-like symptoms. I'll link up a show on that. I'll also link up a show for many people right now going through post-COVID syndrome, long hauler syndrome, long COVID syndrome, whatever you want to call it. These are just names. They mean the name means nothing except for a collection of symptoms. So don't feel like, oh, I'm this victim of this. Yes, you're suffering from it. I agree with you. You don't have to have that the rest of your life. And then listen to also my podcast on a graduated exercise program, right? The 4 phases of exercise, because you're not going to dive right into a full hard workout if you haven't worked your way up. So I'm going to link up those. All right. But let's go through the 3 ways. I'm assuming right now that you are exercising, that you've been exercising in the past, doing some weight training, doing some cardio, and for whatever reason right now, it just makes you more and more exhausted. So let's look at that. And again, I'm not going to go through the rain barrel effect. So if you haven't read my book, I'm telling you, literally it's free now. Please read the book. The book goes in depth. So the rain barrel effect really, it goes through exactly why you're not well, right? You don't feel well. You might be gaining weight, and you feel like you're aging at a much more rapid rate. And that was me at 17 years old too. It doesn't have to be a specific age. So please read that if you haven't. It's literally free. You just pay the shipping and handling. I pay for the printing of the book. You can find that at stevencabral.com. That's it. You'll find it somewhere on that main website. All right. So I'm assuming, because again, I'm not going to talk about sleep. You need to get sleep, right? And you need to eat good quality food, 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day with lots of antioxidants. I'm not going through that today. I'm going through 3 ways to overcome exhaustion from exercise, specific to exercise and recovery. Okay. So the first one is this: hermetic stress. You have to understand that you can really work your way up to being able to do anything. But you have to understand this concept of a hermetic stressor. I did a whole podcast on hermetic stressors, and I'm going to link that up today as well. All these links will be available at stevencabral.com/2176. If you ever can't find one, you just ask at cabralsupportgroup.com. Just ask for the podcast. We'll find it for you. All right. So here's what a hermetic stressor is. Anything in life that takes energy is a hermetic stressor to the body, essentially. Okay. So when I talk about the 4 phases of exercise, walking, if you can't walk 8 to 10,000 steps a day, that's where you start. Right? And people say, well, I can't walk at all because of this, and this injury. Listen, again, I understand everything is nuanced. I can't go through every nuance on the podcast. So what I want you to say is, okay, if I can't walk, what can I do for cardio? Can I get on an exercise bike and just move? Can I stand on an elliptical and just move for those 10,000 steps? Okay. 10,000 steps, but moving throughout the day. That's all that it is. And you can link up your activity with any of your biometric trackers to get what those 10,000 step equivalent would be. But you just have to start with the base of human movement, which would be walking. All right. So I'm not going to go through all of them today. It goes through walking, cardio, weight training, then high intensity interval training. I talk about that on the 4 phases of exercise. But what you can do is, let's say you are weight training, you can start at 1 set. Go back to my previous podcast that I just did on the current workout program that I'm doing, where I took my workouts from 50 minutes, sometimes 55, down to 30 minutes. I literally almost halved it, and I'm still getting the same results. So you can just do 1 set of 5 exercises, okay? That's not your whole workout forever. but you do one set of 5 exercises. What if you get inflamed from that? Okay, you'll do one set of 5 exercises and you'll make them body weight. That's what you'll do, because you can't do less than one set. So what if one set of 5 exercises and body weight causes inflammation? Let's just work this process. Then instead of giving yourself just 1 day in between workouts, you'll give yourself 2 days in between workouts. Then you'll keep doing that same workout. And when you don't feel exhausted the next day from that workout, then you'll do that same workout, just one set, but you'll do 1 rest day in between. So you'll do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now you do 1 rest day in between. Okay, now that 1 set of the body weight workout 3 days a week is not causing you to be exhausted. Excellent. Let's do 2 sets of body weight Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you might feel a little tired the next day, but not too bad. Okay, that means great. Don't do more because you still feel a little tired the next day. So then what do? Well, when you don't feel tired anymore from doing 2 sets 3 days a week, then we're going to do 3 sets of those exercises, body weight only, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you're going to do that for a couple weeks. And then you're going to feel great from it. Why? Because your body is getting used to more of the specific adaptation, which means your body's adapting to imposed demands, right? So it's getting used to the new imposed demands. You're asking your body to do more. Guess what? It's going to create more mitochondria and better energy regulation and inflammatory regulation, which I'm not going to get into today with interleukins and cytokines, for your body to properly repair, okay? So that's what you want to do. When you feel just a tinge of tiredness that next day, it means, hey, you're not going to do more than that the next week, but you're going to do the same thing. If you feel no exhaustion the next week, okay, improve a little bit more. Because from body weight, your next program is going to be weights. What are you going to do? 1 set. 1 set with weights. Why? You're going to see if you're exhausted the next day. If you're not, good. Then what are you going to do? 2 sets. 2 sets. Oh, you're tired the next day. What do? Well, you either go back to 1 set or you try the 2 sets again and see if your body is adapting to that 2 sets with weights, okay? You can also go lighter weights if you need to. So what I'm trying to show you though, because the reason why I want to really hit this home is that this is about progressive overload and no one can tell you exactly what to do, but you can tell you what to do based on the knowledge that you're getting. That's why I'm trying to, I don't want to ever tell you exactly what to do on a podcast. I want to impart knowledge, actual critical thinking. So you just say to yourself, all right, I get it. What I'm really working with is variables based on progressive load, imposed demands. If I can't do 1 set with weights, I do 1 set with body weight, right? If I can do 3 sets with body weight, now I can start adding weights. And that's what you're going to do. Well, how many sets with weights can you do? You don't know yet, right? If you're feeling like this is not for people that are already doing well with exercise. This might seem too basic, too easy. I get it. You've probably never been in the position where you have brain fog and inflammation and exhaustion the next day, right? That's okay. But a lot of people do. And so especially if you're a practitioner, you want to understand this because you can't understand it from your perspective because you've never been there. That's okay. You can borrow knowledge from people that have been there, and then you can say, okay, this is how this is done, right? So, and again, I'm only sharing this with you because I've learned the hard way. I've studied it. I've learned from other practitioners, but I also had to go through it myself. And then I made it my own, and I work with tens of thousands of other people doing this particular type of work. So here's what I want to do. The first one, I just want to make sure we get it. Start at the lowest possible point. And then if it does not cause exhaustion the next day, improve just a little bit more and try to do that every single week, but never go up with more progressive load, meaning more work, more imposed demands if you were tired from that workout the next day. Okay? Because you'll eventually not be tired from it because your body will get used to that hermetic stressor. That's how it works. All right. The second, and by the way, that hermetic stressor works for everything in life. Fasting, like literally, you'll get better at it. Okay? You just improve just a little bit each week. All right, you'll get there. The second way to overcome exhaustion from exercise is that you need to learn how to recover faster, right? So if you do that 1 set with weights and you're tired the next day, well, we can't really do less, right? We could do body weight. That's true. But then we have to add 2 days between if you're really that inflamed. No point in adding more and more inflammation to already an inflamed body. So what do? We also learn how to recover faster. So I'm a huge fan of infrared sauna, a regular sauna. I'm a huge fan of cold therapy when done right. I'm a fan of red light therapy and light therapy in general, if not exposed to high levels of EMFs. So I'm a fan of these things, but here's the thing. They can be expensive, so I just want to say that. Not everybody has access to them. Not everybody has time to do all of them. So what can they do? Well, there's no other way to really do heat exposure except from a sauna or an infrared blanket. All these things I have recommendations at stephencabral.com/resources. Okay, that's my resource page. All my resources are there. All my favorite companies, things that I personally use myself. Everybody can try a little bit of cold exposure. But I'll tell you this, most people shouldn't do cold exposure yet because they haven't been able to properly learn how to regulate their nervous system and breathe. And that might seem too basic, but you have to understand that if you are sympathetic nervous system dominant, meaning fight or flight, more stressed, and you expose yourself to very cold water, what happens? You get more stressed, which means you're going to drive what? More norepinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol. That is not good. You might get a burst of energy. Why are you getting a burst of energy? Because you surge stress hormones, right? That's not what most experts aren't talking about that. Now they're finally starting to because they're saying, oh, wow, there is another side to this. Again, just because it works for them doesn't mean it works for the entire population. A lot of people's bodies are not balanced, right? So we want to understand that. So let's go beyond cold therapy, and that obviously the cold shower is something you can work up to. Just go just a little colder than your typical shower, just for 30 seconds, and then turn it back up to your normal temperature. And if you can, try that 2 or 3 times in the shower. That's just a basic way to get started, and then end with a little bit of that cold, just to what you can tolerate. Don't stress your body. Learn to do box breathing, learn to do relaxation-based breathing. We'll talk about that more on future shows. But here's a couple things that you can do to recover faster that are basically free. Okay, the first one is foam rolling. If you can't get a massage on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, whatever it might be, then give yourself a massage, and that's foam rolling. And there are lots of videos on foam rolling. I have a video from a decade ago on how to foam roll the lower body. I'm going to link that up today. It's a fun one because it's from at least 10 years ago. So you get to see me 10 years in the past, maybe 12 years in the past. So I'll link that up today. But foam rolling your body is amazing for recovering faster. Bottom line, it moves nutrients in, moves waste out. So massage and foam rolling, you only need 10 minutes. That's the thing. Like you need only 10 minutes and it's going to make a huge difference. Stretching for 10 minutes a day makes a huge difference. Why? Blood flow and circulation, lengthening those muscles, nutrients in, waste out. Okay. It even helps the lymphatic system. You could do rebounding as the same thing. Not as good as, foam rolling and rebounding could kind of match each other, but I'm telling you, I'm still a bigger fan of the foam rolling and then the stretching. And I would say rebounding would be a third, without a doubt. So I love rebounding as well because that helps move the lymphatic system, and you only need to do that for a couple minutes total, maximum. That's it. I mean, vibrational plate, but again, that costs money to have a vibration plate. Okay, so that's it. And then recovery, again, I'm not going to get deep into sleep and nutrition, but get to bed earlier. Get an extra half hour of sleep. It can make a huge difference, like without a doubt, make a huge difference without a doubt. Again, like game changing. If you're getting 7 hours of sleep and you get 8, you're going to recover that much more. You really are. You're going to get more deep sleep. That could be true or not because deep sleep is typically happening earlier in the night, but you'll most likely get more REM sleep and you get more overall quality downtime. All right. The third one, I said I wasn't going to go deep on nutrition, but I do need to talk about macros because people are literally killing their body on low carb diets. They are literally killing their bodies. They are doing lots of output with running or with weights. And again, all of my talk today, if you're a runner, can be used on running versus weights. What would you do? Okay, you want to be able to run 3 miles. You get exhausted after running a half mile. Okay, you do a half mile this week. You do a day off in between. If you need 2 days, you do 2 days. Then what do? You take your half mile, instead of being 0.5 miles, it's 0.6 miles the next week. How do you feel? And you just work up. Honestly, you just work up. So you can use this for any type of exercise that you would like. But macros is this. You have to understand that, and this is a quote that I literally live by and I try to share with people. Inflammation persists until recovery is complete. I want to share that with you again. Inflammation persists until recovery is complete. So some people can recover overnight. Some people need a day off between workouts. My body definitely needs a day off in between weight training workouts. Okay? I do cardio in the in-between days. That works for me. Anaerobic, aerobic. Switch the days. I recover even better that way. But here's the thing. If you're inflamed and you put yourself into more stress and imbalanced blood sugar levels, which can be from both low and high blood sugar, we talked about that on previous shows, and you're not giving your body enough glucose to repair the repair process, you have to understand, if you break your muscles down, they are going to ask for glucose to be stored as glycogen. And you say, well, not me because I'm on a keto diet. You don't understand. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way that it works. And I want to break that dogma that's out there today. Your body will take the protein, its own protein if needed, break that down, and also use that for recovery. So it will take the amino acids and from a base standpoint, turn them into carbs and turn them into glucose. So you have to understand, like, that's happening. If not, you're becoming extremely catabolic. That's just the way that it is. When you start to see people's eyes get very sunken in, and when you start to see their hair and their skin get thinner and thinner, their nails more dry and brittle, their body's becoming very catabolic. Well, you're not recovering as quickly at that point. And people have seen it, which is why they're moving away from these detrimental low-carb diets. Now, again, I'm not against a low-carb diet for a period of like 21 to 28 days. We use it in our practice. It's just not long-term low-carb. So I always want to state that. So move towards a more balanced macronutrient profile. That doesn't mean everything's supposed to be 33, 33, 33. You know, you can be on a 40, 30, 30. You could be on 20 to 40%, some range of fat. You could be on somewhere between 15 and 30% protein. You know, you probably don't want to go down to 10%. A lot of people, you know, are just, if you're exercising, your protein requirements are going to go up a bit because you have more muscle turnover, right? So you're not the average individual. And then again, for some people, they might want to even be a little bit lower fat. And the reason is that they have a ApoE genotype 4/4. So they have a double 4 allele. We're not going over that today. I've talked about that on a previous show, but those are the people that might do better on a lower fat diet, not low fat, not super low fat, but lower fat because of their allele type right now. And I talk about fat profiles as well, because very different if you're taking in monounsaturated. And then the carbohydrates, that could vary wildly. It could be from 30 to 60% of your diet could be carbohydrates based on your body type, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, how much glucose you need for fuel, how much you are burning, and what your body typically uses in terms of the nervous system. So again, I'm not saying that everyone has the same macro profile. They don't, but nobody should be super low in any one area, because that's going to cause an imbalance in your body. It's going to lead to more inflammation. It's going to lead to poor recovery. So hopefully today's show was helpful. Again, I can't do an end-all, be-all of everything that it encompasses, but what I want to do is give you takeaways each and every day that you can add on to your foundation, and then hopefully share that information with others as well. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate you, and leave what you thought in the comments below. Take care.